We'd like to open our evening, as we open all things here at St. John's School, with prayer. Let us begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Our reading this evening is from the Gospel of Luke. Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he had finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray, just as John taught his disciples." He said to them, "When you pray, say, 'Father, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we ourselves forgive everyone in debt to us, and do not subject us to the final test.'" The Gospel of Luke.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please join us in praying the prayer of St. Francis. Lord,
Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
please face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This ends our evening broadcast. We hope you enjoy your visit. God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's actually working out, I apologize, but we do all the upgrades at night, and we just didn't think, so when I went down there, it was updated. So, it's working now. So, it's wonderful. Well, welcome to our middle school information session. And we always like to start everything here at St. John with prayer, and I think our students did a lovely job. So my job is to do a little bit of an introduction. And our first thing is going to talk to you a little bit about our mission at St. John's. My name is Mrs. Blake, and I am the principal here. And here at St. John's, we are an Archdiocesan Catholic school, and we prepare our students for success. And we do this by having academic excellence. We were just named last year a National Blue Ribbon School. It means that we have high achieving students. And we do that because we have wonderful teachers who actually teach their children with guidance from our curriculum that is shared throughout the Archdiocese. And we also spend a lot of time forming our students and really working with them so that they can become true Christians and go out together and be disciples to everyone. So that's another important factor that we have. And the last thing is our diverse extracurricular activities. After school here, kids are doing so many things, and they get to explore so many types of activities, from dance to chess, to jump rope club, to running, to basketball, to garden club. And our middle school students actually get some extracurricular activities that are very specific for them. And what is so wonderful about St. John's is everyone gets an opportunity. So you get to maybe explore some things that might be outside your comfort zone, but you have a little bit of a net. So everyone gets to participate. And by doing all those things and really looking at all of our students as individuals, our purpose is to lead them all to Christ. And when you have a really strong, well-rounded individual, it gives them the opportunity to share themselves with the world. And that's kind of our goal here. So we have a great middle school team. We have our middle school coordinator, Ms. Thomas, sorry.
My name is Savannah Thomas, and I teach, aside from being middle school coordinator, I teach 6th and 8th grade ELA. Schmidt. Hi, I'm Joya Schmidt. This is my classroom. I am the 7th grade homeroom teacher. I also teach 6th and 7th grade science, 7th grade ELA, and 8th grade religion. This is my 6th year at St. John and my 11th year teaching in the Archdiocese. I also have 2 children at the school. My daughter Rosie is in 1st grade, and my son Gus is in pre-K3. And my husband is an alumni of the school, so he went back here back in the early 90s. So it was natural for us to want to send our kids here, and we've all thrived in this environment. And this is Miss Maggie Schmidt.
I'm her little cousin. This is my 4th year teaching. I have a master's degree in education and my 2nd year at St. John's. And when I found out there was an art position available at St. John's, I was over the moon, especially when I got to meet everyone. I teach art, music, and 8th grade social studies, which I'm really happy about as well, which you will hear later on. Is there anything else I need to talk about?
Music.
I teach music as well, which for middle school involves the ukulele. We learn both chord and pick ukulele, so it goes into the basic music theory knowledge as well as making loud noises for fun. And you'll hear more about that later. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wilson.
So I'm Mr. Corey Wilson. I'm the 6th grade homeroom teacher. I co-teach math with Mr. Lynn, who is up next, to all 3 grades. I teach social studies to 6th grade, and this year I'm teaching science to the 8th grade in kind of cahoots with Mrs. Schmidt over there. It is my 2nd year here. As Ms. Thomas already said, I am her future son-in-law. I guess that's kind of how I got drug into this. I don't know. But yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a great, last year was awesome, and I'm excited for this year to keep going on a smooth track this year. Mr. Lynn?
Hi, I'm Tom Lynn, and it might not look like it, but I'm the newest teacher here.
It's not related to anybody.
Yeah, Mr. Lynn is probably the only one of us that is not related. Well,
Yeah.
but we're still all family though, Mr. Lynn.
We're all family. We're all family. But not my first year teaching math. I've been teaching math more than 20 years now, I guess. Mostly middle school math, a little high school math. So teaching 6th, 7th, 8th grade math with Mr. Wilson, and I'm enjoying what I see here. I see probably of the various schools I've taught at, this is the school that I've seen make the most effort to back up what they say about differentiation and meeting each child where he or she is, as far as seeing improvement, giving them what they want when they need it, and getting improvement. The improvement is the thing that I love to see the most. So we're having a good year. We're having a lot of fun. We do a thing, since there are 2 of us, it certainly helps reduce the ratio of students to teacher, and we do a thing where we group the kids according to what they need and how we're trying to work them through it. Some kids need a little bit more work at a current topic. Other kids are eager to move ahead more quickly. We're able to do that with the setup. And again, I've not seen another school do it like this, and so at least for math, I can certainly say it's pretty impressive. So good to be here.
And finalmente, I am Mr. Chuck. I am the Spanish teacher for the middle school Spanish as well as 5th grade, and I also have the opportunity of teaching social studies to 7, which can help.
Okay, so, well, with middle school comes a lot of changes, and even though we're one big school, we try to separate our middle school out a little bit. They get their lockers, which is new to them. They're transferring from 5th grade in our school. They're getting used to changing classes. They can have their books. We do a binder system for them, so we try to help them keep them organized, and we help them through that process of transition in the 6th grade, which sometimes is a little difficult at first, but they get it. They rise to the occasion, and we have extra helps in place if they need it. We're proud to say that we do have one-to-one Surface tablets for our students. They get Surface tablets starting in 6th grade, and that same Surface tablet travels with them all the way through the 8th grade. And we use them in every class that they have. There's some uniform changes for our middle school students. So girls go to skirts. Boys are allowed to wear a tie with a blue background instead of just the uniform tie, which is kind of different. We change classes all the time. There are different teachers teaching different subjects, so they're not always in that single environment with one teacher. We have lots of clubs and activities, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit.
Right now, we just elected our new student council, and we're already up and running with our first fundraiser, where we're doing the Halloween raffle, which the kids are really excited about. Our president came up with this cool skeleton that the middle school students are so excited about. They can't wait to buy their tickets. And even the little kids got a great basket, has a gift certificate to Mackenzie Farm, and they're pretty excited about that too. But they advertise it, they make flyers, they sell the tickets. It's really all their project. We also do some other things which are really for charity that we'll do throughout the year. Our students have a lot of opportunity with reading at math, which is really great. It gives kids, our environment is so small here that kids who might otherwise have been skipped over to have an opportunity to read at math or to be a leader, they get that opportunity and they really grow. You see kids in 6th grade who are kind of meek and don't want to speak out too much, and then they blossom. They go out for the drama club. They decide they want to read at mass because it's a safe environment where they feel secure and they feel like they have that room to grow. They can also be broadcast anchors, like our two wonderful students who are up here. Usually it works. That is actually very popular, and we have morning announcements and afternoon announcements that are always live. And middle school also has bonus gym on Thursdays, which they love because that's like an extra gym period. They have that together, which also promotes that extra sense of friendship among the grades, which is really awesome. Some of our extracurricular activities, I mean, there's so many. Just to highlight a few, our kids love the basketball program. They may not be any good, but they sure do have a lot of fun. And it doesn't really matter if they're good or not. They just have a really great time. There's a bunch of them that do that. They really like that. Safety patrol is very popular. They open the car doors for everybody. They feel empowered because they're in charge of something and they wear that little safety belt with pride. We have school ambassadors that meet people like at the door, like today, who come around and kind of help with these kinds of functions. Our social action club, where that's actually all the way through. Where's that? No, that's not all the way through. Was it fourth grade? Third grade? So where they're, doing things for outside sources for the community. And new, like last year we did volleyball. The girls love volleyball. It's really been fun for them. Oh, and also National Junior Honor Society. That's very new, and that's been going very well. Where they're volunteering, but they also have to meet a grade point average, and they have some other parameters that they have to meet in order to be part of that. So really cool stuff. So we have some other special activities. These are at some of our local high schools, like an egg drop competition at NDP, where they form a team and they have to create something to hold a raw egg that's dropped from a high height. Requires some STEM. They love doing that. They also give away a scholarship. In case anybody is interested in NDP, they give away $1,000 to the winner. We've placed, but we haven't won yet. We're going to soon.
Yeah. We haven't won yet.
Right, yeah. The Academic STEM Olympiad is at Calvert Hall. Our boys also love playing that. I think one year we came in second. So that's also different activities, like there's a STEM challenge. What other challenges are there? Like
They had engineering, computer,
Code
writing,
writing.
trivia.
Escape room.
Yes.
Yeah,
They did escape room.
Escape room. Okay. And the kids kind of train a little bit for that, so it's kind of even more fun for them. Last year we had something called the Academic Olympics, which is something that the middle school teachers came up with, and our kids went to like 15 different stations all over the campus, and they were different challenges in all of their subjects. It was really a lot of fun. They were timed, they were kind of graded, and then there were prizes at the end. So it was really, really fun for them, and we're hoping to do that this spring. At the very last, one of our last assemblies, we have a farewell performance of our 7th grade, who prepares a roasting skit of the 8th grade students.
Which they write themselves.
They do write it themselves.
So they get experience in script writing and comic writing through this as well.
It's a lot of fun, and it's always very funny. Of course, our science fair, which runs from right around now through March, and that is cross-curricular. Our students write a paper. It's a research paper that goes with it. That's done as part of the English class, but they're also doing the science part. In science class, they have to come up with a project, either in physical science, earth science, or life science, depending what grade they're in. And they actually showcase their experiment at a big science fair as a culminating activity at the end. We have some great field trips too. Right now we're getting ready to go to Poe Evermore, which takes place up in Manheim, PA. It's a cool little mansion where they put on some skits about flying around Poe. And then afterwards we had lunch at the Cracker Barrel, which is a lot of fun. Kids love that. In the spring, the 8th grade would go to Park, and the 6th and 7th grade alternate between Washington D.C. and Franklin Institute. And we're going to be doing retreats. We have retreats set up already for our kids for 7th and 8th grade, and we're going to also have one for 6th grade, so that their class can be more cohesive and learn about God together. We also have Kite Day, and we're also doing a stock market exchange, which teaches kids how to trade stock. It's really cool. It's on the computer. It's a competition among all the students where they buy and sell stocks, and then at the end you find out whose stocks have made the most money. Really cool. So why St. John's School? Why would you send your kids here? First of all, our small size allows for lots of extra opportunity. Kind of like what I was saying before about how kids can have that opportunity to do things that they might not otherwise do. In a big environment, you know, a quieter child might get kind of lost in the shuffle. Here, every kid has a chance. Every kid, if you want to do it, you can do it. We'll try it. We'll help you. You know, we're very encouraging. We push our students to do things that maybe they might not otherwise have tried. Maybe being in the drama club, or being part of student council and reading a speech over our broadcast system. You know, things that are a little nerve-wracking, where they feel confident and comfortable. We are also, because we're small, we can give a lot of individualized attention. We can reach kids who are struggling. We can also help our kids who are not struggling and who are above and beyond. We can challenge them with other activities. So we have that opportunity to reach students where they actually are. And I kind of commented on leadership opportunities. Our students always come back and say they're very well prepared for high school. I know my daughters all felt that way when they went to high school. We've already had comments from our students graduating this past year about how well they're doing and how prepared they feel. We of course have a family-like atmosphere, like I said before. And I did comment a little bit on the differentiated instruction that we use in class to meet kids where they are. Either by flexible grouping, or we can use learning centers, or if we're using the computers to reach kids where they are. A lot of students that are learning going on here at St. John's. It's no longer sage on stage where they're standing up here teaching. We're facilitators of their learning. They're working in groups. They're figuring out problems. They're doing a lot of critical thinking. And we also have our SAT program, which helps with kids who lack organization, or they might need some other helps in place. And we have lots of different accommodations where we can help kids. So our students attend high school. This is our percentages over the last, since 2014, 33% go to Coward Hall. It's a very popular school here. 23, John Carroll, and then 18 to NDP, 14 to other local Catholic schools like Catholic High, Mercy, Maryvale. Those private schools, May Curley. And then the blue, 6% of the private schools like St. Paul's, Boys Latin, Bryn Mawr, and then I guess 6% other. I guess that might count. This would count Homeschool, people who have moved out of state, or public school.
Right.
So, kind of give you an idea of where our kids like to go, where they're accepted. And for the most part, yeah, I would say 99% of the time the kids are going to their first choice. They see a high school, they feel like they fit in, they apply, and they're successful at getting in. So, we'd like to give you an opportunity to answer any questions that you have. We are going to do a walking tour in a few minutes, take you to some other classrooms, and just talk about some of the different subjects individually. Anybody have any questions?
Yes. You said you have small class sizes. What are your specific numbers this year, and do you have it all at a certain enrollment for each grade?
So our average class size is 16. In 5th grade right now, we have 21. We cap each class at 25. 7th graders, our largest class right now is 22. 6th grade is 19. 6th grade is 16,
Mm-hmm.
and 8th grade is 17. Just the admissions courses.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I mean, you kind of addressed it a few times, but as far as the differentiated instruction, does it work any differently in the middle school than it does in the lower grades? I mean, with everyone up here and then more teachers, do students work up a grade if they're really advanced, or is it more just individual groupings of, within the same class?
Groupings within the same class. So students in 7th grade aren't working with the 8th grade students in classes. What we can do is provide enrichment through blended learning, or like in math, we can put a small group together. I just want to say in our math, we already do an accelerated math program. So our 6th graders take the archdiocesan 6th grade math, but then for 7th grade, we actually do the 7th grade accelerated math, which is more a pre-algebra, and all of our students get algebra 1. We have had an instance where a student wasn't quite ready for algebra 1, and that student has their own group. We also had a student that not only was able to take the algebra 1 class, he also was taking a geometry class simultaneously. So he did an independent geometry class with the help of the instructor and through blended learning. So he was able to do that. And he actually did test out of both algebra 1 and geometry. So he went to high school.
What I feel might be unique about the way in which we group and differentiate for learning is that it is not a tracked system. You don't start at the beginning of the year, oh, you need to be in a lower group. It's all subject by subject. It changes depending on what you're learning in the classroom. We have that for math, and I have that in music as well. So their groupings for math are going to look different on at least a weekly basis. Their groupings in music are going to look different on at least a weekly basis depending on the skill.
Did that answer your question?
I have a little question about that. So it's by perhaps unit you would read?
It could be unit or even skill, because you just don't want to. You don't want to pigeonhole someone. And I would say most of our groups kind of are similar, but when we see students that are excelling, we don't want to just give them the same work that they're doing. We want to make sure that they're challenged and give them the opportunity to explore different topics. And you, in pre-algebra, you can explore a lot of different topics, and you, especially in math, you can do some early geometry as well, simultaneously. So that's what we do. Just saying a child is accelerated, so we're gonna push him up and skip over some key areas isn't beneficial to the children. But just to clarify that our 7th grade math is accelerated, and our 8th grade, everyone gets algebra 1. Whereas in most of the archdiocesan schools, they have tracks. So some children don't get algebra 1 in their 8th grade unit. But we have everybody, and if we are concerned about anyone, we will pull them out and do an individualized pre-algebra with them instead of the algebra 1.
Do most kids test out of algebra going?
It all depends. There are some students that are ready after they've taken the algebra 1. We do have a few students that feel more confident in repeating the algebra 1 again in high school. So,
A lot of the high schools have advanced algebra 1 as well.
and many of them will go to an honors algebra 1. So that's what Mrs. Phelps is saying. So they've taken Algebra 1, they might do an honors Algebra 1 in the school they're going to, or they'll test out. And now I think it used to be different. Some of the schools will start geometry, some will start with Algebra 2. But I think all the Catholic schools now start with, if you test out of Algebra 1, you go to geometry. If you test out of Algebra 1 to geometry, you go to Algebra 2. But I just want to caution you, it isn't like a competition. Sometimes I think people think it's a competition, well, my kid is here or there. What's most important is that your children have a good foundation for math, because those skills they're going to build upon. Because the highest that, if you test out of all the way through Algebra 2, there's only so many maths that you can take. You're taking AP Calculus, because that's what you're going to, get credits for college is your calculus. So we want to make sure our kids have a good foundation for math. They feel confident. They know how to do word problems. They can critically think. All of those things are so important when they're going to physics and they're going to chemistry and they're going to more of those STEM-related subjects when they get into high school. So that is our goal. We spent a lot of time with our younger students learning basic math skills because they need to learn basic math skills. But also, we challenged them, and I was just in a 4th grade math class, and they basically were writing equations. And they didn't have, mixed operations, but they had a variable that they were solving for, and they were looking at these equations, and that's really important because that's that critical thinking. How do I go about it? But we also make our children learn the facts, because you need to learn your facts. The kids need to know that. It's just a skill you have to have. I'm a new teacher.
About how long is homework every evening?
That's kind of dependent. Depends on how, what day it is, to be honest. I would say our kids have a lot more study homework than they do written, although they do have written homework as well. Reading and math, for sure. And then occasionally they're going to have science and social studies. They have to study. I think we let them, it's not as much written because we want them to have that opportunity just to be studying, to prepare for examinations along the way. I would say like an hour and a half at the most. Really shouldn't exceed that.
No more than an hour and a half, because they should have math and language arts every night, because they're supposed to be reading a novel, and we have the accelerated reader program here where our students read a novel at our points, and it's very independent, and it's based on their reading level, which is another way that we differentiate. And of course, some type of math practice every night. But they have projects in middle school, and it's about time management. So there's science fair. Schmidt will tell you all about science fair when we go over that particular subject area. They may need to have like their vocabularies and independent in the middle school. We work with vocabularies and understanding that part of language. And they may be given like a unit to do, and it's due in 1 week. So they have to learn time management skills in order how to separate that out. So maybe one night they're a little late here, that's where they should do their vocabulary. And our teachers are guiding them through this process, that by the time they get to 8th grade, they're pretty much good to go. Because what happens is, high school is that next step, and they go. And if you don't have those study skills, and you're coming from an environment where you have no homework, if they're going to a Catholic or a private school, that's a must. Independent study skills are a must in order to survive.
So, go ahead. I was going to suggest that we move along so
okay.
that we can take some more questions towards the end.
Sure,
That
okay.
we have another period. And I think Mrs. Smith is next.
Go on, Ms. Thomas. Okay, so, I am the 6th and 7th grade science teacher. Mr. Wilson teaches 8th grade science. So at each level of middle school, there is a different science focus. So all in all, they get 3 3 areas of science their entire 3 years of middle school. In 6th grade, they start off with earth science. We talk about the basic metric system. We talk about the scientific method. We talk about the earth. We talk about ecosystems and the environment. In 7th grade, we are into life science, where we spend a lot of our year talking about the cell. We talk about the parts of the cell. We talk about cell reproduction. We talk about cell processes. And then we go into body systems, and we end the year with a dissection. And then in 8th grade, it is physical science, where you're talking about the atom and the periodic table and thermal energy and lots of forces and motion. So you really get a whole scope and sequence of science as you move through the 3 years. So what does a typical science class look like? Science class is a mix of notes, of hands-on activities, of labs. Sometimes we do labs, hands-on labs, and you can see we have electricity. For the first time, we actually have electricity that we can use in the classroom for the different science equipment we have. We do virtual labs on our tablets, so everything is done online. There's actually no cleanup. Sometimes we do projects, and our biggest project being science fair. So science is really a mix of different things. One of the main things I started doing in my science classes, at least for 6th and 7th, is I know all children learn differently, and they have different ways of taking notes and understanding things. So we've made these, I like to call them block books. So they're interactive note sheets, so the children have concepts and things that are important, and they put them on there in different ways. So they're not just taking notes on loose leaf or in a notebook, but they're doing them in an interactive way that's going to allow them to remember and retain the information. And so we have different things, scientific method, this one has variables. So they just have different ways of studying, and I find that if something is attractive and fun to look at and play with, they're more likely to study it. So we have how to write a hypothesis statement, we have different types of models, and in addition, it's a wonderful way to store everything for the students. We really focus in my classes on organization and making sure that you're keeping track of your stuff, you're sticking to a schedule, you're managing your time well. So we definitely work on that. So they get one of these for every chapter, and the idea is that at the end of the chapter they have something, all their notes are in one place where they can study, and then this goes in somewhere at home, and then when it's time for the exam, they have it. So they have all their ones for all of them. So by the end of the year they have like 7 or 8 of them, which are really, really helpful. So I do that with both of my classes. Again, focusing on organization, we really stress that time management skills, keeping track of yourself, being accountable, turning things in on time is really important, and really helping students learn that. Another thing we have in our middle school, and this is not just in science, but like middle school wide, is our binder system. All the students have these white binders where they are organized by subject. They have like dividers, and we encourage the students, like, put this away in your English section, put this away in your math section. And I know if you have a child who's here in 3 to 5, you've been exposed to the binder system. You've seen that before. It's really just a nice way for the students to stay organized, keep all their papers together, and keep their planner and things like that. So it's all in one spot. And we work with the students on putting things away and organizing things, and that's important. Half the battle is making sure you can find your papers at the right time when you need to pull them out. So most of our students do quite well with this process. And again, as Ms. Thomas mentioned, we have our SAT system, and we have our guidance counselor and our SAT coordinator will check in with students who struggle with organizational skills. Once a week, they'll pull the students, they'll go through the binder with them, they'll make sure all their homework's written down, and they help the students stay accountable, so they're checking in on them. We also have students that we check their homework every day. We make sure they've written it down, and we initial it to make sure that they know and the parents know that we've seen it. Okay. Another thing the teachers do to help with organization is we all have a website. We use Edmodo, which is an online platform where the students can have all of their courses listed on one side of the screen, and they click on the course, and the teacher puts homework, the teachers put web links and PowerPoints and things that help the students stay organized, and they have a place to communicate. It's a way they can communicate with each other and a way they can communicate with the teacher. So they have a homework question, or they forgot what something was. A lot of times the students will help each other out. They can get a digital copy of something, the students can answer their questions. So it's really just a helpful resource, and all the middle school teachers have that. The science fair process, as Ms. Thomas also mentioned, is basically a 5 to 6 month process that's done in like little manageable bits for these students. So every year the students are required to do a science fair project with a different focus area. So 6th graders do earth, 7th do life, and 8th do physical. So it starts with a basic proposal, what am I doing? Then it moves on to our research paper, which they work on in language arts and science. Then they actually do their experiment, and they have an experiment paper, and then they do their trifold, and then we have the science fair. So it's not like, oh, go do the science fair, you know, it's all due in 5 months, good luck. It's like we have check-in points with the students and the parents to make sure that things are happening in a timely manner. So no one's waiting until the last minute. So it's a very guided process, and you know, in 6th grade, it's new, it can be overwhelming. By the time they get to 8th grade, it's much more manageable, and you can see the growth that has happened over the 3 years with the students. And they really enjoy the process. We have outside judges come in, and these judges from the outside who are specialists in these areas of science and math and engineering, they come and score our projects. So these are not people that the students know. These are people that have volunteered from our parish and our community, people that I know, people that our other teachers know, and they come in, they judge the projects, they talk to the students, they pick 2 winners from each grade level, and then those winners are asked to go to Towson, which is the Baltimore Science Fair, and they compete against other students in the area. And our students who have gone have been extremely successful, and they have won prizes and money and things like that. So it's really a great experience. It's something wonderful to put on a high school application. And then finally, this was also mentioned that we have 2 science competitions. I work with our 7th and 8th grade girls for the NDP egg drop competition, where the girls create a capsule that'll protect 2 eggs when dropped from a high height. And the girls really enjoy that. It's really a great experience for them. It really encourages them to think outside the box. And then the CHC STEM Academic Olympics is a 7th grade boy activity, and I believe they're going to be coached by Mr. Wilson and Mr. Lynn this year. So they're going to be working with that group as well. And Mr. Tuck. So anyway, before I let you go, I showed you the lap book. These are some of the different science tools that we use. We use balances. We do everything in the metric system for students. So in 6th grade, they get introduced to that metric system, and that's a change because we use standard measurement in our everyday world. So we talk about the metric system. We get used to measuring things in ounces and meters and centimeters and grams. Like, it's different for them. So it's a shift in thinking than what they're used to. So we spend a lot of time on that in 6th grade, and then by the time they get to 7th and 8th grade, it's a little better. So we just keep reinforcing it. We also use our burners that we now can plug into these wonderful plugs in our ceiling, where students will heat substances and things. So we talk about science safety. We have goggles, we have aprons, we have the whole shebang. They love it. They have a really great time. We have beakers. So that is really exciting because this is mostly with our 7th and 8th graders. And then our 7th graders spend a lot of time using the microscope, and they look at slides, they take cells, and they look under the microscope, and they just really enjoy that. It's really just a nice unit that 7th grade focuses on. So, any questions about science? Yes?
How long are your classes for science, and how often do you see them?
All right, science is usually 45 minutes, and it's 4 days a week. That's not to say, a lot is in that time period. At least in my science classes, every minute is used. There's no downtime. And sometimes we do labs that do take a longer period of time, and those will be broken over a period of 2 or 3 days. Usually that's the 7th or 8th grade where it's over a period of time. But right away in 6th grade, we start with labs. Very simple, but they start to get the idea of writing a lab report, answering questions, writing a hypothesis statement. So I think they really get a good firm background in science. I just saw some of the graduates, they were saying they were taking biology, and they were like, oh, we recognize some of the stuff that we were talking about, so I hope I'm doing a good job. So after 5 years, I think I got it down. That's pretty good. Any other questions about science? Okay, Mr. Tuck is going to jump in with Spanish.
All right.
We're going to shift.
Switch gears completely.
Okay.
So,
Here we go.
levántate su mano si sabes español. No comprende. We got one. All right. So, basically, does anybody here know any Spanish? Well, that's fine. All right. So, basically, with middle school Spanish starting from 6th grade, okay, from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it is all one complete Spanish 1 curriculum. So, the beauty of that, just going off of one Spanish curriculum, is if they don't understand a whole thought, let's say in like 6th grade, we still have time to review that just so that they are completely confident in saying, I can do that if I have to talk to my parents. I've had some students come in, I think Hayden, told me today that he was shadowing at Loyola, and he was like, I understood exactly what they said. I got the problem wrong, but I knew exactly what they said. So I think I'm slowly progressing. It's like fantastic. So in 6th grade, we use kind of like basic conversations. So what is your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? Subjects and verbs, knowing which one is which, knowing what a verb looks like in a totally different language. Some of the vocab that we do is kind of like adjectives, going over food. Everybody does food. And some of the activities, like about playing sports, going to school, studying, and then just forming simple sentences, forming just simple thoughts in this language. Being here for my 2nd year, I can definitely say that we're trying to more, I think, push more of a conversational part of the curriculum. That way, so they're not just looking at it and going, oh, that means red, but they actually know how to pronounce it, know how to say it. They're actually talking to each other 90% of the time in Spanish, I think. But like, so, and then we have in 7th grade, it's more detailed thoughts, but it's still just piggybacking off of the following year. Even though they may have forgotten what they, over the summer, they can still have like a whole like 3 weeks of just review, so just getting that whole rush off. They go over school schedules, learning vocabulary, they do a family tree, so they go into the ancestry. Again, talk about more food. And we also talk about what a verb conjugation is by saying like, if I talk, you talk, we talk, it all changes the word. And then we go over what a present tense, so it's basically conjugating a verb saying that I am walking or I am talking to you, just clear statements. And then for 8th grade, we go into, again, more detailed thoughts. They talk about shopping vocabulary. They talk about money, how much something costs. So if they have to go, let's say, to a store, they can tell you in Spanish, hopefully, that this thing costs $93, okay, all in Spanish. They also talk about their morning routine, what they do in the morning, and then they also talk about present tense versus preterite. So being able to express thoughts and ideas, like I went to the store versus I am going to the store. Just present and past. And again, this is a lovely textbook from, I guess, through 6th grade. So I think the first chapter, it's all in English, at least the directions are, but then it slowly progresses to everything starts to become more in Spanish. So it pushes them to actually think, what is it asking? And of course, if they're completely lost and they're like, I have no idea what this is. And we can also talk about, look for keywords, looking for context clues, and ways that they know how to figure out to go around the obstacle. Other than that, they have a wonderful time. Oh, it's 6th, 7th, 8th grade is Spanish is 3 days a week for 45 minutes.
So again, Mr. Tuck said it's just Spanish 1, so we go in really deep. They get a really good background in Spanish 1, so they're ready to go into Spanish 2.
Very good. Question?
So we're going to get you guys up and moving. Oh, go ahead. One question.
I was just gonna ask, is 6th grade the first time kids that are in?
No,
You're
so we
exposed
have
to Spanish?
a different program, and we have another Spanish teacher come in through K-4, but I also teach 5th grade, so we use like another textbook, but it's basically, again, doing the exact same thing, going over basic conversations, numbers, so then for 6th grade, it's just a reinforcement of going deeper into their knowledge of, do you still know how to say like, hey, how are you, what's your name, the numbers, and then we also have, I think last year we had 13 new 6th graders, so they didn't have lick Spanish. They were like deer in headlights. And then like halfway through the year, they're like, got this, no worries, and their whole confidence level just boosted like through the roof.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm so good.
Mrs. Schmidt, would you mind taking them over to our next stop?
All right, we're going to move over to